It's time we give back. Sow a seed and show someone where love's at. Even if you don't give a dime, give your heart and share your time. Help somebody else in life. Give back. Let's give back.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform. My name is Hosea James Givan II, and I am your host for today's episode. Today, we have a special guest, one of my favorite people, my friend Ali Morgan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Ali is a Bronxite, now has moved up north. Tell us a little bit about your Bronx experience.
Well, I was born in Bronx Lebanon Hospital. Well, I think when I first got here, we were living at Tracy Towers. I guess we must have been one of the first in that apartment. And then we were a couple places, and we ended up actually in Edenwall Projects for many years. And at that time, I did a year at PS 111 in the Bronx, and then I was at Nativity of Our Blessed Lady on Dye Avenue up through 7th grade. And then that took us to St. Croix, the Virgin Islands, and finished up there, and then I made my way back to New York many years later.
Okay. I know that you're very, very involved in a lot of civic activities, and we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear about your climb to the top, man. Tell us about your educational experiences and some of your professional experiences, things that you've done professionally.
Sure. So I think for many of us, and yourself and your brothers, your family included, it all starts at home. My mom was a big proponent of education. Her generation, or her and her brothers and sisters were the first to attend college. That's actually where my parents met at BMCC back in the day. And she studied to be a nurse, and she also majored in social work. And again, we'll get into some of that later in terms of the service component. But in terms of education, very important, man, very important. We started in the public school system, and she felt it wasn't adequate either academically or socially, whether it was, at that time things were kind of harder than they are now in many ways.
Question.
You had to fight for your turf and all that. So, I had an older brother, he took good care of me, but, we had to do what we had to do. And so she prioritized, and so she paid money, for us, invested in us at a young age, and that worked wonders. And then when we had to move years later, we had a couple of tragedies. My father passed away, and my grandmother passed away within a few months.
Oh, wow.
And then my mom decided, you know what, I think it's time for a change. That was a difficult one. My brother was at Cardinal Spellman at the time, playing freshman football. I was finishing up. We were doing our thing, and proud New Yorkers, man, proud Bronxites.
My wife is a mighty, mighty Spellmanite.
Is that right?
Yes, she
Didn't
is.
know that, brother.
Yes.
Another connection.
Yes.
And that's a deep one there.
Yes.
And so, we ended up in St. Croix, which is where my mom's from. So we kind of have the reverse experience. Mm-hmm. She was born in St. Croix, but grew up in the South Bronx. Mm-hmm. And I was born in the Bronx, the North Bronx, of course. Baychester area is kind of where my formative years. And then we finished up in St. Croix, which was a great experience, very different than New York. Right. She was also concerned about our safety. And again, you were here. Those were hard times. And so, we were always, good young men, did the right thing, but it didn't matter. So many of my peers didn't make it. And so I think in many ways, I'm living for them too. I'm doing the things that I do for those who didn't make it with me.
It's amazing when you look back at, let's talk about some of the challenges in growing up in New York City. You grew up in the 70s and the 80s.
I did.
I grew up in the 60s and the 70s. And we encountered some very, very challenging times.
We did.
You in the Bronx during it was probably the hardest time in my life in terms of just crime.
Yes.
Was during that crack era.
That's it. That's the era. That's the era I'm speaking. You know it well.
And that time was, that wasn't a bad move.
No.
Moving out there.
And we're thankful. Thanks, Mom.
Amen. Yeah. But you know what we don't see enough of, and I admire mothers like your mother. Oftentimes we hear that kids don't make it, men don't make it because there wasn't a father in the home. But your mother was able to do it.
She was.
In spite of. And,
she was.
And tell us how, some of the, I have Caribbean, we both have
yes,
Caribbean.
Yes, we do.
Roots.
We do.
And I know about the discipline of the Caribbean culture. Share us a little bit about that.
I will, and that's all I know. And I'm proud to say I'm half coconut, half collard greens, if you will. My dad is the southern side.
Oh, so
and my mom is the
we're exactly
Caribbean
the
side.
same.
Oh man,
we're exactly the same.
But because my mom obviously played a prominent role, I'm thankful to have her. She's still with us, doing well. She was a tough cookie, man, and during a tough time.
Right.
And so she came from a big family. Both my parents did, actually, and she had a vision, man. She's a very spiritual woman. Had us in the church, but she just had a very strong will. And I remember I could tell stories. I know we've come a long way in our society in terms of discipline with the young people. You and I have daughters, and we also share some stories. Right. And we might be stern vocally.
We'll get a chance to see your special daughter later in the show. By
wonderful,
the way.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's awesome for me. I appreciate you having some time with her. And you'll see the fruit of the labor with her.
Amen.
But my mom didn't spare the ride, man. And
I
remember thinking, me and my brother would say, we were pretty close. We're 2 years apart, and grew up, did everything together, shared a room, all that. And we would say, Ma, you always run around here telling everybody you got these good boys. So we good boys, how come we getting a whooping? And she said, because I'm trying to make you great.
Oh, okay.
And so I think, Mom did what she had to do. Now she's a proud grandmother now, and you wouldn't even know it's the same person, if you know what I'm saying. I know you. She's like, don't hit the children, just talk to them. I'm like, okay, Ma, that's not what you were saying, but it's all good. And as you alluded to, it's hard. I can only imagine being a parent, but at that time for my mom, doing it alone, she definitely had to take on some of the characteristics of what you and I know to be the male presence. So very tough as nails, but she's a woman in there. She's tenderhearted as well, but we didn't really see that side. We saw a woman who was very driven, didn't say much, but when she did, you listened, didn't waste her words, and very effective, man, very effective. But still open-minded, she still found a way to, inspire us to have our freedom to us. And I think that's part of why she knew it was time to go. She said, this is a delicate balance here. Young men, young women too. We were losing them pretty regularly at that time. And again, everything from the buses to the trains. I remember at one time, right before we moved, I had to leave my school. I had to leave an activity. It was great. I love my experience there, but there was some challenges there at the time, and so my mom decided to make that change. So I was at school in Co-op City, junior high school, and I got there, met some friends. They were cool. Took the bus, had to do all that, and man, these guys were packing in junior high school. Wow. And I'm looking at them like, and they were just like, hey, this is how it is. Right. And I was cool, they were cool, but I'm like, it was like on a different planet, man. Right. And this was their norm, and I remember being on the bus and, in the back of the bus, some young men were packing heat, and I'm like, wow. And I'm a scholar, man, but we're children of hip hop, so we understand the streets, we had the street savvy. But
that was the beginning of the change.
You got it.
That was the beginning of the change.
You got it.
So you came back to New York from St. Croix. Mm-hmm. Then what did you? I know you because there's a connection that ultimately we'll get a chance to touch on.
Yes.
So you go from St. Croix to.
So I go St. Croix to SMU.
Southern Methodist. We have another connection there.
We do.
Right.
Yeah, yes. Let me tell you about that. So it's kind of a cool thing, and when I realized this, I said, "Wow." So as you mentioned, your lovely wife and I have both attended the same higher education institution. So my undergrad was SMU, for those who don't know, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. And that's where she went for her MBA.
Correct.
And her undergrad was at Baruch College, CUNY strong here. And that's where I went for my master's degree in higher education administration.
Right.
And I love that. Because I said, who else could claim that? I think she and I have that on lockdown.
Yeah, I don't know.
And look what we're doing. We're giving back with it. So that's all right, man.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's all right. Which is a kind of cool thing, man.
Yeah, it really
the connections just continue. But SMU, I actually went there for performing arts. In high school, I went to a great independent school, got to really explore the arts, academics, and athletics. Mm-hmm. If it was athletics, it probably would have been tennis. But I got a theater scholarship, man, and had a great experience there. Learned a lot, focused on acting and directing. Mm-hmm. And then toward my senior year, I decided I wanted to explore education. Mm-hmm. So I worked at the equivalent of the LaGuardia School in Dallas, Texas, called Booker T. Washington for high school performing visual arts. That's where Erykah Badu went.
Oh, wow.
And a number of others, and had a great experience. It's actually someone I went to school with at SMU was part of her band at the time. And it's funny, when she went there, she was a dancer. She wasn't a singer. But just to show you the artist in all of us. And so great experience, prepared me well. My plan was to move back to New York and work at LaGuardia. And I put my, went through that process, and then I was kind of waiting for opening, because those jobs don't open up, and the students there are so talented, man. It's just, and so while I was waiting for that, I fell into higher education, and I took a job at the new school down in the village, and fell into financial aid, and over the years became a financial aid expert. Worked my way up all the way to director.
I'm a witness. I want to say that we had an opportunity to have you come to our
right.
school.
That's right. That's right.
And you did a wonderful presentation to South Bronx community.
Thank you.
On financial aid, and that was just one of the ways that I know that you've given back to the Bronx and to the community, because now you're in Westchester and you're doing a lot of things through our fraternity. Alpha Phi Alpha, and I'm sure you're going to share some.
I will. I'll be happy to, because I actually was thinking about that, knowing I get to talk to you a little bit more today, and I was thinking, service for all mankind, which you know what that means.
Yes.
And that really for me started at home with my mom, who again was a registered nurse, had worked heavy duty nursing, but kind of transitioned to the school nursing because she felt that she had more time for her boys. She knew she had to be there.
That's another connection, because my mother's a registered nurse.
Did not know that.
Wow.
And she's still doing it to this day.
Wow.
She's pushing 70, man, but she's working hard,
That's
doing well, and she likes her summers off so she can spend time with Ava and things like that. But anyway,
so I know you're over the foundation for the Westchester Alphas.
I am Westchester Alphas Education Foundation. Prior to that, I was our president for the Westchester Alphas.
Yes, you were.
And in that capacity is when you and I got to do some great work together with the Give Back campaign. I'm proud to say that we were, early supporters.
Very much so. And we'll never forget that.
You shared the vision, and we were right there. And of course, I was happy to be your point person, and you and I connected. But the brothers as well. The brothers,
they did.
They didn't even blink. They said absolutely.
Yes, they did.
And it's been a pleasure. I got to meet Scotty P and people like that I knew of, and got to know him better and his family. And so it's just come full circle with even some of the scholarships we've given out, having Scotty P's son get one and doing well, and now we got more FRAP coming through, and it's great. And this idea of giving back, for me and for you, it's a way of life. I don't know a life without it. Now in my current job, I work at an independent school, and my role is Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and we have another person who does a lot of the service work.
So what is your current school now?
Yeah, so Rye Country Day School, just north of the Bronx, off of Metro North. We actually have some students coming from the Bronx.
We've had a chance to visit the campus. We loved it.
Yes, and come on back and check us out.
We'll check it out.
And I'm proud to say, so I work with the entire school, all through pre-K through 12. But as the kids get older, you see there's a greater need, and actually there's a need throughout the school, but they're able to articulate that themselves.
Right.
And so I've gotten close to quite a few of the kids, and work with them on different projects, you name it, current events, programs, all that. And I think people are surprised that a school up in Rye would have, some students. We actually had a couple girls coming from Washington Heights, but we have quite a few from the Bronx.
Okay.
Co-op City is well represented at
That's
school.
what's up.
And that comes from our head, who's invested in a program that ensures that we can really recruit and retain people from all over. So that's been great for me, and that's probably the best part of my job, I have to say, helping these young people work together. But there's always a service component, and I don't know any other way, because that's how Mom did it. She was always whatever. We didn't have very much at times, but whatever we didn't have, we always gave back, sharing things with other people, always kind of, that was her approach.
And that's a way of life what we wish more people embraced.
Right.
Because in today's world, unfortunately, man, things are going in reverse from the way things were when we were
I think we're going to have to step up even more.
We have to
and for some of us, that might seem, wow, we've already doing so much. But, I'll be honest with you, brother, I'm willing to do that. Because I can't see our community not thriving, not pushing forward. So some of us are just going to take on more.
That's a mindset that I wish more people embrace, man. A lot of people just simply accept things for what they are, right? Rather than take on the challenge, is what you're just saying, to make a difference, to make changes. That it takes a lot of faith, because at times it seems the challenge seems overwhelming.
It is
at points.
It is.
But you, me, and more of us thinking the same,
we can do it.
We will make a difference.
Yeah.
We will make a change. We have children.
We do.
Their children will have children.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we keep this thing going. And we have to. Now we're at an age now where we have to exercise leadership in the community, vision for the community, and things we'll get to.
Community's crying out for it. I think, also working with, Brother Blake, he's also, for me, inspirational, and I met him through you. And I talk about him a lot. I said, this is exactly what we need. This is what they said we couldn't do.
Yeah.
You go back to the Dinkins era, excuse me, and proud of him and the work he did at that time, and he's still, doing what he can. And so he's inspired a lot.
Last week.
That's it. Happy birthday, brother. And we're proud. That was a big moment for us. And even though I wasn't here at the time, of course, I tracked it. I remember coming back to New York to visit some family, and he had just, and it was just, I could feel it in the air,
And it was a special time.
It was, and proud to know your work with him.
Yeah, man.
And at that time,
we did some good things, man. David Dinkins, Al Van, Carl McCall.
Yes.
All alpha men.
Yes.
But brothers that really were making a difference. Brother Green.
Yes.
The police commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Some exciting times.
Yeah.
Important leadership, community-based leadership, and we need to see more of it.
We do.
And the fact that another thing I want to touch on, which I think is critical. You moved up to Westchester,
right?
But when the opportunity came to come back to the Bronx,
right,
and give back to the Bronx,
right,
you didn't hesitate, man.
No,
you didn't hesitate.
I never will.
You said, "I'm there."
I am, and I'm very proud of that. When my students find out, because it doesn't always come out, that I know everything about them. I take, I pour into them. That's what this work is about. But that I know their neighborhood, I know where they come from, and not only I can tell them, and they're like, "Mr. Morgan, you know about?" I said, "Yeah, man. I used to go to that library right there." And they're like, "Really?" And then, and as you open up a little bit more, it's inspiring. And so, you never forget where you come from. We've all heard that. Brother. I believe that.
Yes.
And the Bronx has been, it was where it all started for me, man. It really is. And the Bronx has always been that very important, but unheralded borough. It's the power in the Bronx. And look, we're represented Queens, Bronx. I didn't say it earlier, but when I moved back to New York, I ended up in Brooklyn. So I spent some time there, and so at one point I lived in Queens with my dad. So only borough I didn't hit was Staten Island, but I've been
is that still part of New York?
Exactly. There you go, man. I can't confirm or deny.
Well, brother, there's something, a couple of things I want to touch on before you go.
Please do.
As you see, we highlight urban superheroes.
Yes.
And we consider you an urban superhero.
Oh man.
What would you consider your urban superpower?
That's a great question. And I have to tell you, he didn't prepare me for this one. Compassion, man. I really, really, really love people. I think you know that about me.
Yes, of course.
I'm open to all people, even in these tough times. I think especially in these tough times, we all have roles to play. One of my roles is I'm one of those people that, those who we may not even agree with or really have a hard time understanding where they're coming from, I might have a shot at them. And so I think that compassion, that love for people, I love I love young people. That's my life has been always about helping people and young people, whether it's college aged all the way down to now pre-K and kindergarten. And I think that compassion, man.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
and I know you to be that way from the heart, man.
Thank you, man.
And it's real. What would be your kryptonite?
I could be a little. This is going to sound a little weird. I could be a little impatient or sort of flippant with when I feel that you're not being genuine.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So in other words,
makes a lot of sense.
I'm gonna give everybody a shot. In some cases, many times over. And I'm proud. That's who I am. I'm wired that way, if you will. But if I feel like you're not in it too, you're not gonna, you don't give me anything. You're just gonna go, well, it is what it is. That might set me off a little bit, man.
Right.
And I'll cool, I might let blow a fuse. I'm a cool cat, but I'll blow a fuse. And then I'll be the same
to that point.
I'll be the same guy that says, "You all right?
Right.
You okay, man?
Right.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Let's move forward."
Right.
But that is my kryptonite. Yeah,
Right.
I could be a little dismissive when I find that I don't like to see, and honestly, brother, it's when I see it in others. I mean, if it happens to me, I'll deal with it. But if I see someone doing that to you or your family, I don't know, just something just lights up in me, man. I can't control. I say, "Excuse me."
Right.
Do you understand? And
right.
that's my kryptonite, man.
I feel you there, man.
We're human, man.
Yeah, we certainly are, brother.
Yeah.
And but you're somewhat superhuman. But
thank you.
It's clearly that's something I can relate to as well.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
that. I'm one for the truth and genuineness.
I know that about you.
You
bring
try
it,
to
brother.
walk that way. We try to walk that way.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I want to thank you for taking this time
Absolutely.
to share your Bronx tale with us,
Yes.
and as well as your overall experiences.
Thank you.
I want you to come back
I will.
and share with us again.
I will.
Keep us in mind as you always have.
Yes.
And thank you for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, man.
Okay. Thank you again for joining us. Next segment, we will, as I mentioned, we will have your daughter and my daughter.
Wonderful.
They'll chat.
I can't wait to
chat
check
up.
this one out.
I want to see that one too.
Me too.
Station break at this point.
What if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish! In your face, in your face, in
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome to another segment of Ignite, Empower, Transform. My name is Rebecca Givan. Today we have the daughter of our guest. Please introduce yourself, your age, and what school do you go to?
My name is Ava Morgan, and I go to Red Country Day, and I am 8 years old.
Thank you. What are some hobbies you like to do?
Well, I love singing, dancing, and acting.
What are some experiences you have with your dad?
Well, I love having fun with my dad, and I love drinking coffee with my dad too.
What are some experiences you have with your mom?
Well, I love hanging out with her, especially at night, because I sometimes get to sleep in their room and snuggle with them, and that's the best part.
Well, what are some experiences you like to do as a family?
Well, I like to play games with my brother and sister, Kai and Kadir, and I like playing cards because I taught my dad a new game. It's called Garbage, but it sounds disgusting, but it is actually a really fun game.
I know how to play and it's really fun.
I know, right? But it's a disgusting name.
Well, not as disgusting as Spit, but...
Spit? Oh, yeah, Spit, yeah.
But let's not talk about
That.
those games,
Yeah.
card games. Well, what's something you like to... Well, what do you like to do? What is something you like to do when you act?
Well, I like to act like I'm sassy
Okay.
or a teenager.
Which do you like better? Acting or dancing?
Yeah, I'm going to go with dancing because I love dancing. That's like the best thing I ever did in my whole entire life.
What's your favorite part of acting?
My favorite part of acting is being on stage and with my friends and acting with them.
Well, what is your favorite part of dancing?
Well, my favorite part of dancing is dancing really good and getting my heart out there, and yeah, and I just performed a show today too.
Oh, that's great. What is it called?
It was called Shrek the Musical.
Why do you love dancing and why do you love acting?
Well, I don't know, but I started dancing and since I was like 2 years old. And I kept dancing and acting, and then I noticed that I loved dancing and acting. So, yeah.
Well, what is your favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show is well, the channel I love is Disney Channel, and did you know that Descendants 2 is coming out?
Yeah, I already have it on record.
Me too. My mom recorded it for me because I'm going on a trip to Cleveland.
Oh.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, who's your favorite musician or singer?
Well, I love Disney Channel. Like, I love Alicia Cara and Katy Perry, Dove Cameron. I just love Dove Cameron. I feel like Dove Cameron's the best thing in the world. I like Michael Jackson and Alicia Cara.
What is your favorite TV show out of Henry Danger and the Thunderbirds?
Henny Danger.
I like them both. It's really hard to pick.
Me too.
Thank you for watching another episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform. See you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Someone see and show someone where love's at. Even if you don't give a dime, give your heart and share your time. Help somebody else in life. Give back. Let's give back. Don't forget, the children are our future. Let's teach them well and let them lead the way. It's our obligation. Help raise a mighty nation. Show for them a better day. Open up your eyes. The sun is soon to shine. Yeah. Aim your arrow high and keep reaching for the sky. It's time we give back. Someone see and show someone where love's at. Even if you don't give a dime, give your heart and share your time. Help somebody else in life. Give back. Let's give back.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic.
Maybe you could be an outdoor cat that lives in our neighbor's yard, 3 doors down.
Mom.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Tune in to Ignite, Empower, Transform every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on BronxNet.
Give back. Let's give back.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.